Hello, Christopher. Hello, Emily. A lot of people talk about love. A lot of people talk about the three Greek words for love. I'm sure you have heard them before. I want to add a fourth one today, talking about love. You know that one of the words for love is eros, which we say means desire. And eros is a good thing. Desire is a gift of God that brings us out of ourselves. It's a way of getting outside of our own skin and being reminded or even taught for the first time that the world doesn't begin and end in us, that we're part of something bigger and better than just ourselves alone. The yearning for the other, the passion for each other, the desire for each other is that language of belonging, of widening, of growing, of learning how to be apart. Desire is a good thing. And I hope that you two love each other with all the warmth and fire of desire, both physically and emotionally and mentally too. Christopher and Emily desire each other. The second Greek word for love is philios, which sometimes is translated as meaning brotherly love. But what I really think it is the love of friends, best friends, friendship love. And friendship love is so important. Some people downplay it in a marriage, but I don't. It's one of the most crucial things because a best friend is somebody that you can tell anything. You can be vulnerable. You can be open. You can be somebody who makes mistakes. You don't have to be perfect. You build a history with your best friend. You invest in that relationship with your best friend. You get to know each other over the years. You get to share life and memories over the years. Your best friend is somebody you can be yourself with and not worry about judgment. It's so important not having to be perfect all the time. That's philios. And philios is also this, because it is about sharing a history and building a future. Your best friend is the one that you dream with. You talk about what you want to build, the kind of legacy you want to leave in the world, who you want to be when you grow up. And believe me, even at my age, I'm still learning what I want to do when I grow up. A best friend is the most precious thing in the world. And Christopher and Emily, I pray that you'll love each other as best friends. It's important. The third Greek word for love is agape, which is sometimes translated as disinterested love, but I think it's anything but disinterested. What it is love for the other as much as or even more than for yourself. That's agape love. And this is why it's important. You guys are grown, you're adults, you are competent, and you are gifted. You are excellent in your fields of work, and you've lived life for a few years already. You've already begun to know who you are. You're not babies. And now you're coming to share your life in a more involved and intimate and complex way with each other. And that is not always easy. I expect there are going to be days when you wake up and look at the person lying in the bed next to you, or maybe even downstairs on the couch, and say, what have I gotten myself into? Who is this person? It's where agape love comes in, because it's a commitment. Agape love is not so much a feeling as it is a choice. You choose to love the other person and put their best interest, their health, their well-being, what's good for them above your own. You choose to love them, even when you don't feel loving. It's an extraordinary kind of love. And it's the thing that keeps a marriage over time. So Christopher and Emily, I pray that you love each other with that choosing agape love. But there's a fourth kind of love that I think in some ways is the most important of all, because it weaves in and out of the other three and it brings them alive. And that's something that there is no one word for. It's a little bit like building a home, and it's a little bit like yearning. It's a little bit like investing again, as in brotherly love, but it is its own thing. And that is our desire for and yearning for and making room for God and accepting God's delight and love for and investment in us. Here's the thing. A lot of the time, when we look at a marriage as just one-on-one, as two people together, we're all right. You know, it's okay if we're both strong, if we're both well, if we both have it all together. And it's even okay if one of us falls apart, as long as the other person is strong. But what happens when both of us in a marriage, when both you, Christopher, and you, Emily, hit the dry place at the same time? When you're both needing support and comfort and reassurance at the same time? When both of you feel like you don't have any resources left and you're just tired at the same time? That's when love really comes into play. It is the love that looks at the marriage that you're making as almost a third person in your relationship. This is the love that helps you work on your marriage every single day. Some of that work is fun and some of it isn't so fun. But the more you put into the marriage itself, the more that marriage becomes a strength in which you can draw when times get hard. And more importantly than anything the two of you put into the marriage yourselves, the more you make room for God in your marriage, for faith, for asking questions, for seeking, for praying together, for working together for the good of God's people in the world. The more you do that, the more you build up together with God this incredible well of goodness and grace and experience, of mutual understanding, of trust in the future. And that becomes a well that never, ever, ever runs dry. So the fourth kind of love, Christopher and Emily, is making room for God, loving God, and embracing and accepting God's love for both of you in this marriage, individually and together. And I promise you two beloved people, children of the living God, that if you can love each other with eros, with desire, if you can love each other as best friends, if you can choose to love each other with agape love even when you don't feel like it, and if you really make room for and invest in the presence of God in the marriage with you, your marriage will be alive and meaningful and abundant and strong all the days of your lives. Paul and I send all of our love to you and all God's blessings. Amen and amen.